Ow. What's up, everyone? Punchy back with Higurashi When They Cry, Chapter 3 to Higurashi. And we are back with Punchy as he tries to correct for the unplanned things, such as having to actually chase Satoko's uncle fairly far away from where his original plan was, and now having to find the body, bury the body, find the shovel, and just get it all over and done with. Not to mention he's exhausted from the whole thing. The lights at home were dazzling bright. Suddenly, they reminded me of how hungry I was. I checked the clock and saw that it was almost 7. I thought for sure it was 2 or 3 in the morning already. I was surprised at how messed up my biological clock had gotten just from this one night. There was a warm light coming from the curtains in the living room window. The worlds between here and what was beyond those curtains were so different. If only that man hadn't shown up, I would have been in that light. I'd still be excited from the festival, and I'd be talking to my parents about how much fun I had with all my friends. And then, even though they made a hot meal for me, I would have eaten way too much at the stalls, barely eaten any of it, and gone back to my room. No doubt, I crawled into my futon and easily let myself fall asleep. But right now, I was completely different. There wasn't a single ember of warmth from those weak street lights. Right now, I was unconnected to any time spent with my family. There was neither warm food, nor the time to allow myself to sleep. My body exposed to the cold rain, I knew that I simply had to spur myself on to accomplish what I must. I realized how timid, how cowardly I was becoming. For what reason did I need to kill someone, even if it felt this terrible? I lost sight of my purpose. I selected the fastest, most fundamental way of saving Satoko, and executed it without hesitation. That man was dead. He was gone. He would never ever hurt Satoko again. With what we all thought frantically for days on end about Satoko's problem, and finally with no options, we gave up. And I had solved it in one night. By myself, without anyone's help. Right about now, Satoko would be making dinner for her uncle, despite not knowing when he'd return, and she might be spending the night trembling in fear of whether he'd yell at her for how it tasted. But her uncle wouldn't come home. She wouldn't have to fear his wrath, nor let him make her feel sad. I see. I did it. I successfully saved Satoko. All I'd been thinking about for a long time was killing that man. I'd forgotten the feeling that it was actually all to save her. I did. I did something good. That's right. I did something good, didn't I? I felt hot tears coming from my eyes. And that's when I first realized that the exhaustion I'd been feeling was actually guilt. The blade of guilt for a while had just been scraping away with its tip, hurting my heart. It hurt so bad I couldn't stand it. It was throbbing painfully. It hurt so much, it was so painful, that I cried. I cried tears of joy at saving Satoko. I didn't know why, really, anymore. I just cried. My tears fell and fell. As I stood there for a while, coming to terms with those warm tears, my heart was comforted a little. Alright, Punchy Maribara, that's enough. There's nothing to regret or feel ashamed about. Both my body and mind were thoroughly exhausted, and that was a fact. It was only natural I couldn't feel anything. Even tomorrow, and the day after that, I might not be able to feel anything for a while. But there was one thing that was true. There was the undisputable fact that I'd saved Satoko. One day, we would surely be rewarded. One day, I would be proud of how distressing an enterprise I'd undertaken to get Satoko's smile back. And so that I could wait for that day, I had to put this finishing touches on this night. If I left it undone, everything I'd accomplished today would be for naught. I looked back up at the sky, which didn't look like it would stop raining anytime soon. Then I rubbed my eyes and summoned forth energy from my core again. How long did I plan on spacing out? This isn't the time for daydreaming. Someone could find that corpse this very moment. That pessimistic thought was proof that the very natural emotion of fear had returned to me. As I allowed the fear to spur me onwards, I went to look for the other shovel and the lantern inside the storage room. It was fortunate. I remembered what it looked like around the street light the body was near. How dark it was. It's quite possible I wouldn't have been able to look for it either. I didn't realize that when I left the place, so the idea of memorizing the spot hadn't even crossed my mind. And that's why I had to call it fortunate that I managed to get back to the body like this. The corpse was now located in a big muddy puddle. Half the thing had already sunk into the swamp, like a pool of water. I only realized it afterward, but there was an unused irrigation channel right nearby, clogged with fallen leaves and dirt. There was rainwater flowing in from there. My shoes had been awash with water for a long time now, so without any hesitation, I stepped into the puddle. The whole muddy stream started flowing back, luckily. I couldn't leave any slight traces, like bloodstains. The rain was like a blessing from heaven. I checked, I think it's what's supposed to be, around me, paying very close attention, and then turned off the lantern. It became pitch black, but my eyes had gotten used to the darkness in a few moments, and once I managed to reach the street light on the other side, I was able to make out the even faint lights. I stuck the shovel into the puddle right next to the corpse. The ground was even looser here than I thought, and the shovel's tip easily slid inside it. I had to hurry and dig. If I took too much time, I might lose my energy and strength again. It felt almost like digging a hole in the sand at the beach. It was easy to dig, but no matter what, muddy water kept flowing in, covering the hole. Digging wasn't going as well as I had hoped. I dug, and the water would go in, so I couldn't get a sense of how deep it was. The only way for me to measure it was to bury my own foot in the mud. I'm digging just fine. It's alright, don't be disheartened. Dig. Occasionally, a car would come by on the road. I'd hurry to hide myself in the trees. Everyone was only passing through. They wouldn't have had their eyes peeled in this kind of darkness. I understood it logically, but I still couldn't help but hide. What I was really scared of wasn't quite that one of those cars would coincidentally happen to witness me here. It was that the distance I could spot from cars was getting gradually shorter. At first, I noticed splashing sounds from really far away as cars drove through them. I started noticing them less and less. With the car that just passed by, I didn't notice until its headlights were upon me. I felt my senses growing duller by the second. If someone were to peek in secret as I was burying the body at the worst possible time, maybe I wouldn't even notice. The moment I thought that, I took a good look all around me. I roused all my half-asleep senses and searched for signs of presence nearby. What if I found that someone was spying on me from the trees? A carnivorous feeling snarled at me, glaring. If there was, then I would dig another hole. I come this far already. In order to achieve perfection, I didn't care how much more I had to pay. I didn't know what kind of face I was making at the time, but it was definitely a fervently glaring one. My five senses reached the conclusion that nobody was present. I didn't breathe a sigh of relief. How long had I been digging this mud out of here? I was deep enough for it to go up to my knees. Maybe this was enough? Maybe I'd throw the corpse in as a test. I swallow, getting my breathing under control. Despite how much I'd beaten him, I was afraid of touching the corpse. So instead, I dragged it by the feet into the hole. It took me more than just a waggle and a tug to do it. But of course it did, considering this man's weight was easily 80 kilograms. I rallied all my strength and dragged him. At this point, my groundless fears that he might suddenly start moving again had vanished long ago. His body fit perfectly into the muddy hole, and it was more than deep enough. Alright, let's bury him. Quickly, quickly, quickly. If I did a perfect job of burying it here, everything would be over. I would hide it in the hole, and none of this would ever have happened. That's not right, but when I realized I only had a little farther to go to finish everything, I racked this pointless anxiety, like I was in a race against time. It was like I was absorbed in a delusion that if I didn't bury the body quickly, it might come back to life. In any case, in a great rush, I poured mud and dirt into the hole. If I didn't work efficiently, someone might find me here. Until now, I figured if someone saw, I'd just kill them, but not anymore. I was arrested with such absolute fear that if someone saw me, it would be all over. As I finished the work off, it was a total mess. Splish splash, squish squash. I drew the surface of the shovel across the ground, trying to make it flat. I was completely covered in mud at that point. The rain washed the mud off my body, but not off my now blackened clothing. My mind and body were caked with panic, with fear, with rain, and with sweat and mud. My shoulders heaving, I threw down the shovel and sat down in the mud. I was so exhausted that I wanted to lie down right there and sleep. It was over. This time. For real. It was over. The man was now on the bottom of the wet dirt. Right this moment, there were traces that this place had been dug up, but the rain and flowing muddy water would completely cover it all within moments. Yes, it was over. I did it. I did it. Did it. You motherfucker! I know Punchy's like kind of proud and angry right now, but... And then I fell over backwards, face up in the mud. Raindrops pelted my face without mercy, but I didn't care. After staying there for a while, resting my mind, I got up again. It was over. So let's go home. You already buried the whole thing, so now it's like it never happened. Never happened. So there's no reason for me to stay out here and get rained on. I wobbled to my feet. I wouldn't use the shovel anymore. I considered disassembling it, but I didn't have the strength in my absolute exhaustion. I didn't really need to take it apart anyway. Dragging the shovel behind me, I headed towards the light. I stood on my bike. It had been laying in the grass by the road. I didn't know how I was going to get the still assembled shovel into the front basket. I put the shovel down the back of my shirt like I'd done with the baseball bat. Unlike the bat, the corner of it was on my back, making it very painful. Plus, if I relaxed my posture even a little, it'd fall out behind me. I ended up having to carry the shovel in my left hand and ride my bike using only my right hand. Not only was I in a state of total exhaustion, this was a downpour. One hand on the handlebars, I was swaying to and fro like a drunk. But I didn't care. Even swaying like this, I got a little closer to home every time I pedaled. I saw two lights swaying slowly in front of me. A car was approaching. Oh no, I need to get out of the way. Far away in the shadow of the darkness, a car appeared. Its dazzling lights washed over me. The driver made a short honk of the horn to inform me I was in the middle of the road. I have to get out of the way. I kept telling myself that not only was I riding one-handed, I was exhausted, so I couldn't do anything. Wobble, wobble, wobble. I meandered about, not going to the right or to the left. The driver decided to swerve out of the way, right in front of me, without lowering its speed much, steadily came towards me. Its outline grew large in my vision, and telling myself again that I really need to get out of the way, I jerked the handlebars in one direction, then lost my balance and fell over, bike and all. My whole body splayed out, and one foot got caught in the bike. This was seriously bad. My drowsiness quickly vanished, and just as a cold sweat broke out of my skin, the driver recklessly spun the wheel to the left, made a counterclockwise U-turn, and came right up to me and stopped. The driver's seat opened, and the driver came out. "You idiot, what are you doing here?" I was pretty sure someone would yell at me like that. Oh my. Look who it is. It was a woman's voice, and one I knew. I lifted my face off the ground and looked at her. "Oh, Takano-san. Good evening. The moon is very pretty tonight, Meibara-kun." It was raining far too hard to see the moon. Takano-san unfolded an umbrella and smiled as she spoke. That smile was for some reason uncanny, like she'd seen right through me. Out of all the people I could have met, I got the sudden feeling that this was the one I wanted to see the least. "What are you doing out so late? And you're soaked and covered in mud, and no umbrella either. What is that? A shovel?" She had come here via her car. She would have known what I was doing, and yet she smiled as though she knew everything. Calm down, Punchy Meibara. She always makes that mysterious-looking smile. Remember? Don't let her onto anything, lest you dig your own grave. The rumors say you were playing baseball with a golf club. Is that what the shovel's for too? Using it as umbrella? I should tell a good lie here. If I could just do that, things would work out. When I went with Rena to go digging for treasure at the town, you forgot this there. And you went to get it in this downpour? When I left my house, I didn't think it would rain, so... Oh, it's been raining for a while though. You've been out for quite some time, haven't you? Well, yes, I was kind of wandering around. Even so, you came from that direction, didn't you? The dam is in the opposite direction, you know. Takano-san was clearly aware that something exceedingly abnormal was happening with me. And she played her little word games, and she was enjoying driving me into a corner. Maybe she had a vague guess, just from the situation, of what I've been doing. My timing really sucked to run into her, of all people, of all times. At the very end, I could only be frustrated at my terrible luck. I'd done so much, and the end was literally right around the corner. So why, at the very end, did I run into her, of all people? What do you do, Punchy Meibara? You're still holding something that could be a dangerous weapon. Will you silence Takano-san? Even if it would be simple to kill Takano-san, dealing with the car she'd come in afterward would be an issue. I couldn't drive a car. It would be completely different from a motorbike. But even if the car was here, as long as there was no proof I killed her. Yes, in tonight's downpour, without any prior planning, all by coincidence, a hit and run. As long as I didn't drop any handkerchiefs with my initials on them, they would never know I killed her. A black flame quietly smoldering and raged in the core of my body. That's a scary look. Did I tease you too much? Takano started to laugh by herself, and then thankfully stopped talking about it. But the dark clouds in my mind didn't go away. Leaving that aside, how long are you planning on crawling on the ground with your bike like that? Would you mind moving out of the way? If I moved, she would leave. So I tried to get the bicycle up and out of the way, but then twisted my ankle in it and fell over. Shit. Oof. There was a sharp pain in the ankle I'd twisted. This is nonsense. A sprained ankle? Now? Oh my. Are you alright? Did you twist your ankle? Takano-san squats down and takes a good look at the ankle I kept rubbing. She compares it to my facial expression, apparently trying to gauge how bad the wound was. Can you stand? I didn't expect to, but I couldn't even stand up. It was all I could do to shamelessly wriggle on the ground like a caterpillar. Takano-san looked at her watch, then at the car, and after thinking for a moment, opened the passenger seat door, and then gave me her shoulder to stand up with. I'll take you home. I do feel bad, since it's almost like I hit you. I'm sorry. I wouldn't just leave you there. It's a good thing I'm a nice person. Hehehe. Nobody good has ever called themselves a nice person. But that would have been a terrible thing to say to someone holding me up like this. I took Takano's hands and sat down in the passenger seat. Takano-san went around the back and looked at my bike on the ground. I don't suppose we could take the bicycle home tomorrow. I could clearly tell from her face that she thought it would be a pain, since it would be heavy and it would get her car dirty. But my bike has the name Mirabara written on it. I couldn't leave it out here like this. Well, can you somehow put it in the car? I sort of need it. The trunk is already full. If I put it in the back seat, look, the seat's dirty with mud. Well, given you're already here, it's already dirty, I suppose. I turn back to the back seat and see someone's folding bicycle there already. They still look big enough to fit my bike in there as well. My expression reflected my thoughts, and the exact thought seemed to get through to her. Alright. I'll put it in here for you. I'll be really nice, but just for tonight, okay? Hee. Takano-san continued with her mean jokes, but she hoisted my bike and loaded it into the back seat for me. The mean jokes were one thing, but couldn't she do something about that eerie smile of hers? And even more importantly than the bike, I didn't want to leave the shovel here. The shovel could be directly connected to the buried body and to me. Sorry to ask another favor, but could you get my shovel too? Takano-san gave me a clearly dubious expression. Your shovel. That's fine with me. Is it important? The more I talk, the worse it gets for me. That's how I felt, so I didn't force myself to answer her. Eventually, outlasted by my silence, Takano-san gave a short shrug and sighed. Alright, I understand. You need your shovel, right? You don't need to make such a mean face. Takano-san brought over the shovel that was lying in the middle of the road. I clutched it like I'd never let go of it again. Takano-san watched me with a puzzled look. Okay, let's be off. Mirabara-kun, you live at the Mirabara mansion, don't you? Why does everyone call my house the Mirabara mansion? Because it's actually a mansion! It must be nice to be rich. As she spoke, Takano-san pulled the handbrake and stepped on the gas. After making a skillful U-turn using the shoulders of the road, she steadily increased in speed. From the rearview mirror, that accursed place seemed to meld into the darkness. Reed? Huh? I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear you. What was that? Takano suddenly tried to say something to me, but thoughtlessly I didn't catch it. Looking ahead, Takano-san said the same thing one more time. The body. How well was it buried? I thought my heart might beat out of my chest, but I didn't let it show. But my lungs were squeezed tight and I couldn't breathe. What are you talking about? When burying bodies in the mountains like these, you have to bury it fairly deep because wild dogs will often smell the corpse and dig it out. Some human bone a wild dog brings back in its mouth leads to an incident being uncovered. The police head out to a stretch of mountains. It actually happens pretty often, you know. Hee. Pound, clang, clang. Huge rusted bells started ringing in my head. Had I buried it so deep that I could say it absolutely wouldn't be found? The answer was no. I was in such a rush to bury him and get it over with that I couldn't deny having possibly buried it too close to the surface. No, wait. That's not... Wait. Anyway. This woman, how does she know? Well, gee, I wonder. It's not that hard to put together, man. She just passed by here in her car by coincidence. And we ran to each other by coincidence. She'd been watching the entire thing from the trees, and once I left, she came back in her car? It didn't make logical sense. So then why? Punchy Maibara, that's it. You need to kill her. And we'll stop there. Oh man. I know. Okay, let's just roleplay more for a second. If I was Punchy, honestly, I'd probably let her live. Is it gonna create a loose end? Yes, of course it is. But like, this is just, it's kind of like when you have a lie that other people start to know about, so it starts to snowball, right? And then it's like, if something happens, you have to remember everything you said, who you say it to, because if you say something wrong, then it's gonna bite you in the butt later on. So, like, it seems like literally either way, Punchy is in deep, you know. And I think it would be a lot more simple if she was actually kept alive. I mean, I'm not saying she's good at keeping secrets. I don't know if she's gonna keep a secret, but I think it would end up better than trying to kill her. Also, I'm happy that she's actually alive in this, and I'd be very sad if anything happened to her. I really like her and Tomitake. They're two of my favorite like side characters because they've always gotten my like sympathy of being killed or disappeared on Watsunagashi night. So anyway, Jesus, it got kind of. I can't believe the action's still going. Yeah, well, please like and subscribe, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.